you find the information all about the system specification, then we need to install the CPU-Z software. And then how to download the CPU-Z software. First of all, you going to web browser and then you write down the CPU-Z. After the CPU-Z software is uh, the tab open here, and then we click on the first tab, and after this there are various. Then here you can see easily zip English and setup Chinese files are appear here 62, and then we download the setup English, mm, 32 and 64 bits. After of downloading, it's appear in the your downloading folder. I am already download this software, so you can easily see the on desktop, and then we installed it. After installing, and you click on the CPU-Z software. After of this yes or no options, then you click on the yes option. After of yes, the uh, some of the time the CPU VID is opened. Then we first of all you check for updates. You do not updates and then click OK. And the some specifications of the CPU utilities are here. Look, let's look on the CPU tab under the processor name. The name is the name of the processor, the CPU you have installed in your computer. This is the typically the name that the CPU is marked under. You could search for exactly what is listed under the name in Google and an other engine search engine to a replacement or reviews. In my case, I have an Intel Core i5-7200U name of the CPU processor. Then next one is the CPU code name, in which the code name is the Skylake. Skylake, the code name is the Skylake. This name is the name of the processor architecture. The next one is the Max TDP. TDP stands for thermal design power. This is the maximum amount of the power that is processor will use. In my case, the max TDP is 15.0 watt. The next one is the package. Package shows the name of the motherboard socket your computer in design to fit in. In my case, the package is a socket 1515FCBGA. This means that I use the Intel socket 1515. And the next one is the technology. Technology shows the processing geometric used to create the processor. In this case, it is 14 nanometer. This means the processor was built using a 14 nanometer process technology. 1 nanometer is 1 billionth of a meter. The smaller the process technology used, the more transistors that can be packed into the available space. The- They allows the processor to become faster and use less energy with energy geometric energy generation. And the next one is the core voltage that is shown in this icon. This core voltage is the power supply voltage supplied to the CPU. This along with the max TDP, the max TDP is often important to individuals who are overclocking their computers. In this case, the voltage is zero point 0.9 and something volt. And then specifications. Specification. Specification shows the processor informations, and in my case is the same, and if the exact name is the name field from the above. Then next one is the family and the ext family. This section refers to the steeping information for the processor. This is used to determine the revision of the processor once a processor goes into production. As time goes on, the minor update and bugs fix are made to the processor. Each update is a new each update is a new revision or steeping. You could use this to see if your processor revision is the one with or without a bug. Instructions refers. The next one is the instructions refer. Instruction set that shows the processor is capable of running. This is the basic set of the commands or instructions the processor is capable or understanding. In this case, the processor supports the MMX, SSE, SSE2 and SSE3, SSE3 and the other ones. The under the clock I clock sections. Clock sections it shows the core information of the processor cores. All cores are identical. The first one is the core speed. The core speed is the frequency that is processor is running at. In my case, it is 3093.18 megahertz. Modern computers are speed rated in gigahertz, not megahertz. 1000 megahertz is equal to 1 gigahertz. So this processor is running at 3.091 gigahertz. This processor speed is determined by taking the speed of the CPU bus and then multiplying it by the multiplexer. The next one is the rated FSM. Uh, this is disabled in my case, but is this is the speed of the bus. And the AMD processors in support the HT link, and in my case is the rated FSM. The next one is the cache. Under the cache, it shows information on the cache on the processor. CPU cache is used to reduce the average time to access the memory. This cache is memory that is faster than main memory and is directly inside the CPU package. Cache stores copies of the most frequently used data from main memory. Each core has its own cache. Mm. In L1 cache data, L1 is data cache. This is a 64 KB and 8-way, and the L1 other is instruction cache. This is also 64 KB and it is 8 set 8-way, and both are the combination is 128 KB. The L2 cache is 5112 KB, that is four-way SATA. So the next one is the L3, 3 megabytes, and it is a 12-way, and it is a combination of, and the all two upper caches are sharing this type. And in my case, there are two cores in my system and four threads in this port, and every core has support the two threads. The other option is the cache. The cache information is same the previous information. Then I skip off this. The next one is the main board. Main board top provides information on the motherboard. First of all, the manufacturer. Here you can see the making of the motherboard. In this case, it is made by HP. The second one is the model. This model of the motherboard is listed here along with the revision number. This is a 8231. This is extremely useful in determining what drivers to download. The next one is the chipset. The chipset is an Intel Cape Lake. The chipset controls communication between the processor and the other devices on the motherboard. The next one is the BIOS. BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. The BIOS initializes and controls the devices on the computer at the hardware level. Under the BIOS section, revision and brand name, version, and the date. The brand name of in my case is the HP and the version is a P85 version VR.01.06. That is 6/18/2017. The next one is the graphical interface. This is the shows the first in the first icon. It is a version PCI Express. You would download this at the page of the motherboard manufacturer, not the BIOS manufacturers. Under the next one is the memory. The next two, the next one is the memory, and in my case, the type of the memory is DDR4. DDR4, and the first one is the size. Here you will see and find the listed the total amount of the size is 8 gigabytes, and 1 gigabytes is equal to 1024 megabytes. The next one is the channel. Channel refers to the number of channels available to the memory controller. A dual mode configuration has double the bandwidth of a single channel memory. Triple channels has 3 times the data rate, and the so on. The next one is the NB frequency, and this is the speed of the system bus or rated FSB. This is the same as the FSB, only the CPU tab. In the DC mode, this is my disable the DC mode, but some of the AMD and the other dual core systems of Intel that use the Intel processor is symmetric or unsymmetric, and the AMD is used the ganged and unganged. That is shows the core gets access to all sticks of RAM in which we can easily control the clocking and overclocking and the single threaded and multi-threaded applications easily. Timing table in which the this is the timing table in which first of the DRAM frequency is the memory clock speed. DRAM stands for dynamic random access memory. In this case it is 1064.9 megahertz. This is double data rate memory, so you doubled making is memory DDR4. And the next one is the rest of the let, CAS latency. CAS latency is complicated to understand. Basically, it is the measurement of the time between the moment a memory controller tells the memory module to access a particular memory column to the moment the data is available at the RAM output pins. As a general rule, the slower the CAS latency, the better. The next one is the SPD. SPD tabs contains the additional information about the memory under the memory slot allocation. First of our memory slot allocation. If you click the drop down, then you a list of under memory slot selections. If you click the drop down, you will get a list of the each of the memory slots in the motherboard. In this case, there are two slots available for RAM. Select each one will be provide information regarding the memory in that particular slot. Slot 1 and slot 2 in the system each have a stick of RAM in them. The memory, some of the systems support the 4 slots. The this means I have 2 slots available for expansion. The memory type is DDR4. And the next one is the module module size. the this is the amount of memory this is the amount of memory on the RAM module, not the entire system. This is 8 gigabytes. The next one is the max bandwidth. In in this case it is DDR4 42400100 megahertz. if you if you want to upgrading memory, you would want to buy this memory standards to be compatible. The next one is the manufacturer. The manufacturer of this is Samsung. And the next one is the part number. This is the manufacturer part number for the memory installed in the selected slot. We will skip the timing. Will skip the timings table. The timing table. The graphics tab open in the next. The after of this, the graphics information is appear here, and the first of all, in which display devices selection NVIDIA GeForce 930 Max. This is the NVIDIA graphics card is available in this. First of all, the name portion. Here is the retail name for the graphics card. In this case, it is NVIDIA GeForce 930MX. This is a This is how the product would be listed at the say. The next one is the code name. This is not available in my case and the some of the other. For example, it is available in AMD AMD processor, and the name code name is different in everyone. The next one is the technology. This is the name as the technology field on the CPU. This is the name as the same technology field on the CPU tab. This is the process geometric used in the manufacture process. In this case, it is built on the size 14 nanometer node. Let's look under the memory section. The memory section, first of all, the size. The size